You, man, you wrestled like a who's who there on television at an early start in your career. Wanted to ask you about the fact that we've heard a lot about the environment of Center Stage in Atlanta, and then Universal Studios in Orlando, which you've been there through several iterations. When you're working those TV tapings initially, did you find that crowd in Center Stage in particular? We've heard kind of a random bunch of not wrestling fans. What do you recall from that experience? Was that extra pressure on a young guy breaking in to the national stage, so to speak?
Oh, definitely. Like I said, because it was so quick for me. I had only been doing it a year and a half, and I walked in the dress. That first trip I went was, like you said, Center Stage. That was the second day. The first day was the Macon Coliseum, an actual arena. And I'll never forget walking in the dressing room, and the first thing I see is Dick Slater sitting there playing cards with Robert Fuller, a one-man gang sitting over in the corner. You know what I mean? Earthquake. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was just in awe of these guys. I couldn't believe that I'm walking in a dressing room with these guys. And what I was taught to do: sit down, keep your mouth shut, wait for them they'll come get you and tell you what you're going to be doing. And then the second day we went to Center Stage, and that was cool because that's where a lot of the Saturday night TV tapings on TBS that I watched as a kid. And I was like, man, I can't believe I'm in this place wrestling these guys that, just a couple years ago I was watching as on TV. So
Yeah, that must have been quite the trip. You, as I stated, in this particular time in WCW, you had opponents that Hall of Famers, you name it. Just want to do a name association in terms of your experiences working with them, and it doesn't have to be this early stage, but later on. But I'll start with you wrestled the Giant a couple of times, the Big Show. What was that like for a young guy?
Wow, unbelievable. And he was one of the other ones sitting in the dressing room that first time I walked in for my first shot there in '95, and he hadn't debuted yet. They hadn't started him. So I'm like, who is this guy? He's the biggest guy I've ever seen. And then all of a sudden he started showing up in the crowd and all that. But once I got going with TV, obviously I was a little nervous because he's such a humongous guy. And man, when he gave you that choke slam, that's still probably the biggest fall bump I ever took to date. And but what a nice guy. You know what I mean? Super cool guy. Paul, real great athlete back then. They had to tell him to calm down. He was wanting to jump off the top rope and do all this athletic stuff. Like, no, you're the Giant, but man, he could do some stuff. He was a real athlete. He was
Absolutely.
the most impressive looking guy I ever saw at that point,
Absolutely. What about the Nasty Boys?
Once again, guys I watched when I was a kid, and I was scared to death when me and Rhino wrestled them at Center Stage for a TV taping. And, you're in awe of somebody, but you want to survive at the same time. And, man, they lay it in. You know what I mean? They're big, rough, and tumble guys, just like they looked like on TV. But I think they were happy with the match, and I was glad to have Rhino there with me because he was a friend and he was kind of a big guy too. You know what I mean? But we always tease each other. Just recently going back there for TNA shows, me and Rhino, we traveled. He goes, man, remember we came here to wrestle the Nasty Boys and just prayed they wouldn't kill us, right?
A car wreck. What about XPac or XPac at the time?
Yep, got a chance to wrestle him when he was with the NWO, and man, what a tremendous talent he was. And it was a great opportunity for me because it was an 8 or 10 minute match, and he was very gracious with me, to make a good match with me, and we both looked great, and we were friends after that. I think we wrestled a couple times, but no, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, wrestling him on TV because he was, back when the NWO was still pretty new and it was really hot at the time. So just to be in there with one of those guys, especially him who could just go in the ring, just I got to learn something from all these guys I got a chance to face.
And of course, Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable. Didn't feel nothing with him. You knew you were going to have a great match, and you weren't going to end up all beat up or busted up. Right? He was smooth, man. He's one of the smoothest guys. Him and Brad Armstrong might be the smoothest guys I've ever been in the ring with. Just a pleasure. And a great compliment he gave me. He came to me one day, and if people out there remember, there was a period when he got really shredded in physical condition in WCW. And just before that, he actually came to me and asked me what I was doing as far as diet and cardio. And then a few months later, he emerged, and he was like Lex Luger, not as big, but that kind of conditioning. So I was very flattered that he would ask my opinion, because he thought that much of my physique at the time. And we always got along great. Chavo as well, good friend of mine, had great matches with him on TV. And Hector, all great. The Guerreros were all great people. I enjoyed being around all those guys.
Konnan, the great Mexican star, and I know you've had a relationship with him and his crew for a while.
Oh yeah, WCW had great matches with him too. He was over, man. He was really over, and it's the most fun and the most easy to wrestle a guy that's over like that. And then, like you said, we ended up in TNA together. And to this day, I see him at the conventions, though. We always got along great. We traveled together a little bit. Fun guy, very knowledgeable. The Hulk Hogan of Mexico, he brought me down there for a couple shots when WCW was trying to start an all lucha show. So he actually included a few of us in there, me, Lenny Lane, and Norman Smiling, a few guys. He chose us, handpicked us to go down there. So I was honored that he would think that highly of me to be involved with that. So yeah, I always liked K-Dog. Good guy.
And just in terms of tag team competition, Harlem Heat.
Great guys. Obviously Booker ascended to the top right away, and it's obvious why. His brother Stevie Ray was underrated, I thought. A very big, imposing guy, super nice guy too. I had tag team matches with them. I had a tag team match with them, me and Chris Adams against them two. And I'm like, man, this is like when I was watching World Class when I was a kid. I get to team up with Chris Adams again. Had a great TV match with them. Had singles matches with both of them. They were always good. Just an honor to be in there with guys like that. And to this day, I bump into them at the conventions and stuff. And just great guys, great talents. I heard Booker's got a really good school going on. He's producing a lot of talent, and it's not hard to see why. Those guys had it all, man. The look, the body, the work in the ring, the rap on the mic. Those guys could do it all.
And one of the individuals that you frequently faced, at least on television, and I'm sure in other encounters in WCW at the time, which must have been a feather in your cap, that it appeared that he wanted to work with you, is the recently passed legendary Kevin Sullivan, who we've had in Great North Wrestling too. One of his last managing gigs was for us about a year and a half ago. What do you recall about those matches?
I was scared to death of him because he was the booker. He was my boss. And he didn't play around out there. It was like being in a real fight, but that's the way he was with everybody. And that's what I was told. Terry Taylor told me that. He goes, Kevin really likes you. That's why you're here. But being so young and being in there, he was kind of an intimidating guy back then. But then when I got to actually in recent years, we'd become friends because he started coming to some independent shows in Georgia. So I got to be around him a lot.